Hello everyone, today I'm going to talk about Lambda expressions in Java 8. The agenda for this video is to talk about what Lambdas are and how it's implemented and how it's different from other programming languages, and also the backward compatibility challenges that JDK developers faced, and lots of examples of Lambda expressions. So let's get started. So what are Lambda expressions? Well, to simply put, Lambdas are an anonymous methods in computer science, and like many other features we kind of borrowed this from mathematics, and also this is not exactly a new feature as such in programming community. It's been there for quite some time, and also it's pretty popular in functional programming languages, and now we see a trend of adopting these lambdas into object oriented programming languages as well. And following this trend, Java also introduced lambdas in its 8th version of its JDK. So let me tell you this, it's very easy concept to learn. Just remember one thing, lambdas are just a piece of code without a name. That's it. You can treat this piece of code as data that can be executed. So just like you store a data in a variable, you can also store lambdas into a variable. And also just like how you pass data to a different methods, you can also pass a piece of code as an argument to another method, or return a lambda from a method, just like how you return an integer or any other object. Sounds pretty interesting, right? To treat code as a data and pass it around. So before I show you some example, let's try to understand the syntax of lambda expressions first, and then we can talk more about it. Again, the syntax is very easy. Just keep in mind that lambdas are just a piece of code. Like I said, lambdas are anonymous methods. So methods can contain method body and take parameters, and also it can return values. So let's first see how the lambda expression that takes no parameters. So you simply have to specify the empty parenthesis list and then followed by the method body. Let's just type print statement here for simplicity. System.out.println and hello. So this is a very basic lambda expression. So you might have observed this new symbol. So this is called arrow notation, and it is introduced in Java 8. So whatever you see on the left side of this arrow notation is parameter list, and whatever you see on the right side of this arrow notation is called the body of a lambda expression. So if you have more than one line of code in your lambda expression, you have to use the curly braces. So let's say string name equals a month, and you can print this. So this is how you write a lambda expression that takes no parameters. So this is the body of the function, and curly braces are very important if you want to write more than one statement in your lambda expression. So what if you want to take parameters inside your lambda expression? So you could simply say this out println, and you can simply print it. So don't worry about the type of X, we'll get to that in the later point of the video. So just remember, if you want to take a parameter, you just give it a name. It could be X or it could be anything. So, and you can use that in your method body. And if you just have a single parameter, you don't have to specify the parentheses as well. This is optional. You could simply do this. Println, and yeah. So since you just have a single statement in your lambda expression, this can even be simplified as this, just this. So if you want to take multiple parameters inside your lambda expression, you specify multiple names. That's it. It's pretty simple. So I'm going to take two parameters and I'm going to print the sum of it. So just say in sum equals x plus y, and you can print that. Oops, system.out.println, and you can just print this. So this is how you take multiple parameters. It could be n number of parameters. You get the idea. You just have to give a name to the variable. And lambda, like I said, lambda expression can return a value also, just like methods. So how do you do it? Exactly as you might have guessed already, you just have to use the return statement. So I'm taking two parameters and I want to add those up and return that. So it's as simple as this. So you take parameters inside this parenthesis and arrow notation, and then open the curly braces if you have more than one statement in your lambda expression, or it's optional, and then write your piece of code. That's it. So if you have just one line in your lambda expression and you want to return the value, you could simply do this. No need of return statement here, just the value that you want to return it. Or if you want to return the as which is greater, you could even do this, true, false. So you get the idea, right? So we've learned like how to use how to write a lambda expression without a parameter, and how to write a lambda expression with more than one line of code, and lambda expression that takes single parameter. Here the parentheses are optional. If you have a single parameter and multiple parameters, you just have to name the variables. Could be any name, not just x and y. And inside the lambda expression body, every rule applies. You could declare variables, throw exceptions. We'll get to the exceptions part in the later part of this video. So this is a pretty simple syntax. So I think this is fair enough to get started with lambda expressions as such. So one more thing I want to tell before diving deep into lambda expressions is it's pretty important to understand that lambda is a concept like design patterns, and what I talk in this video is about how Java 8 chose to implement lambda expressions in their languages, not necessarily the general lambdas. Like I already mentioned, the idea behind lambdas are to treat a piece of code as data so that you can store this code inside a variable. Now one obvious question is, how do you store a code inside a variable? What will be the data type for that variable? So let's see how other programming languages have dealt with this issue, and then come back and see how Java solved this. So I'm going to jump right back into the Google Chrome and open the developer console, and let's see how lambdas are stored in a variable in JavaScript. So I'm going to write a simple JavaScript lambda expression here. So it's almost the same. Okay, let's write lambdas without parameters. So this is a very simple lambda expression in JavaScript, and the arrow notation is a bit different from Java 8, but that's okay. So if you want to store this lambda expression in a variable, you would simply say var my lambda equals console.log hello. So now we have stored a piece of code inside a variable called my lambda. Now you can use this variable and invoke the expression. Oops. Okay, my lambda expression. So you can do this, and you can pass this variable to another functions. So you can do all sorts of things, right? So the other programming languages have a similar data type called a function. So one obvious solution is to introduce a data type called function in the Java 8. So, but there are a few issues to introduce a new data type called function. The first thing is you have to invent a whole new kind of representation for bytecode for this new data type, and also this will not be compatible with the previous version of Java. Now, what do I mean by that? You cannot pass a lambda expression to a method which is built using Java compiler 7 or less than 7. So we have two problems in order to bring lambdas into the language. First, they need to find a way to store lambda expressions in a variable, and second, they have to solve the first problem in a way that is backward compatible. So we'll see how Java had successfully dealt with these kind of problems, but before that, it's important to understand that one of the main reasons to introduce lambdas in Java 8 is to add the ability to pass a function as a parameter to another function. So let's see, the idea of passing a function as a parameter to another function is done in other languages, and then we try to recreate the same thing in Java. So I'll show you the example in JavaScript first. So let's open up Google Chrome developer console, and let me create few lambda expressions. Let's call it greet casually, and I'll write a lambda here that takes up one parameter and arrow notation and prints the greet hello. Yeah, and I'll write another lambda function, let's say greet rudely, and it also takes a parameter and but greets in a slightly different way. Let's say who are you, and I'll just define one more lambda greet nicely, maybe it takes a parameter and locks. What do we do? How are you, maybe. So we have lambda expressions which is greet casually, greet rudely, and greet nicely. These are three different ways you can have to greet someone, right? So let's define a function called say hello to Hemant, let's say. Yeah, and it takes a lambda expression as a parameter, let's say greet method. Yeah, and what this does is it calls the greet method. Remember, greet method is a function, and we are calling whatever we have passed as a function, and we are calling here, so with a parameter called Hemant, and we end the function. Okay, so now we have a function called say hello to Hemant, which takes function as a parameter, and it calls that function with a parameter called Hemant. So how do we pass a function to this function? It's very simple. Just invoke this function. To pass a function as a parameter, we use lambda expression. So first we'll use the greet casually. This lambda expression is stored in a variable, so we can use this variable to pass this function to this method. So I can simply say greet casually. Now what will happen is we are passing a lambda expression to this function, which in turns call whatever we passed. So the output would be hello Hemant. And if we choose to, we can pass another function. Instead of greet casually, we can do greet rudely, and the output would be who are you Hemant. And in the same way, we can do greet nicely as well. So this is awesome. We are passing a function to another function. So can we do this in Java before Java 8? Turns out that we can actually. So let's see how this exact scenario can be done in previous versions of Java, and then let's try to understand how this can be done using lambda expressions in Java 8. Yeah.